I would tell you that this is both a joyous and a historic day for us.
Breaking news, the feds have approved a recovery plan for a slimmed-down rail project.
More on that in a moment, but first, the latest on Hurricane Ian from Gloria Pazmino in Fort Myers, Florida.
Ian has moved on from Southwest Florida, but the aftermath is overwhelming.
Those lots right there, those were homes, those were hotels, those were real property.
And response in hard-hit areas like Fort Myers still in overdrive.
Right now our focus is we've got to get the electricity on, especially for our water plants and our wells.
2 days after the storm slammed the coast as a powerful Category 4 storm, millions of Floridians remain in the dark, and residents are still in shock. Their homes and businesses destroyed.
It's surreal. I mean, events like these you don't think can happen to you.
For Southwest counties like Lee, Collier, and Charlotte, the scope of the devastation is yet to be determined.
This is a very long process now because they're basically going street to street, home by home.
And off the coast, aerial views show Sanibel Island's shorefront cottages wiped away, their roofs turned off. Meanwhile, in northern and central parts of Florida, flooding is a big concern. With impacts statewide, Ian is likely the largest natural disaster in Florida's history.
We know that there's a lot of difficult days ahead.
And as Ian moved north, the Carolinas, coastal areas like Myrtle Beach and Charleston did their best to prepare for the unpredictable. In Fort Myers, I'm Gloria Pazmino reporting.
And we'll continue to follow the system as it moves up the East Coast, on air, online, on all of our digital platforms.
More breaking news. Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi just announced that the federal government has approved a recovery plan for the city's rail project that includes a shortened line and fewer stations.
They've accepted our recovery plan as is. We won't have to increase our estimate at cost or our funding. So as is, as of right now, they are committed to working with us.
Under the new plan, the rail line will now end at Kaka'ako rather than at Ala Moana Center. Officials have said the rail could be lengthened at a future date, but stressed the slimmed down line will contain cost.
To come 21 months later, despite the fact that we had to work our way through COVID and everything else, which was more than a distraction early on in our time in office, I'm exceptionally proud today. And I'm very grateful to the hard work, to the dedication of Lori Kaikina in the leadership role. You know, a lot gets said about political will. A lot gets said about, really, quite honestly, leadership skills in order to get things done. And this is the personification of that. You know, Lori made a lot of tough decisions early on, and I listened to the criticism of those decisions. And she went in there beyond her technical skills, but went in there with a big task at hand.
So we are so grateful to FTA for this opportunity.
Altogether, it means the project, as built, will extend for 18.75 miles rather than 20. The federal plan means Hart is now eligible for $744 million for its $10 billion project. We'll have much more on this still developing story coming up on later editions of H&N. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin has confirmed that he will be meeting with the military families on Oahu that were impacted by the Red Hill tainted water crisis. That will be after a sit-down with the new commander of a joint task force in charge of defueling the Red Hill tanks. Secretary Austin arrived at Camp Smith yesterday, where he was greeted by the commander of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. Meanwhile, the military says more than 150 repairs are needed on pipelines to be able to defuel Red Hill safely. That could take up to a year to complete, but the military says it is still on track to meet its own timeline for defueling the tanks by July of 2024. Critics say it needs to happen faster.
Well, the Biden administration is scaling back eligibility for its student loan forgiveness plan, a change that affects over 700,000 people. So many moving parts to this. To discuss it all is Emily Schmidt. Now, one of the factors involved here is Republicans ramping up efforts, the legal efforts to stop it. What else has been happening in the background?
Mark, really, it's so much going on. This is from the courts to Congress to certainly the White House. And a quick scene setter on this. If you talk about the amount of money we're talking about, it's $10,000 for people could get loan forgiveness, up to $20,000 if they were Pell Grant recipients. So that's a lot of money on the line. How much could be taken off certainly depended upon income requirements. But a lot of people were saying, listen, this is too much of a break for the federal government to give a certain number of people, particularly when you think about those who had said they'd already paid off their loans and hadn't received that same sort of loan forgiveness. So what's happening is just yesterday, 6 different Republican-led states were filing some lawsuits basically challenging this, saying they don't believe that President Biden, as president in the executive office, has the authority to make this kind of decision. Also, you have something happening with another case that was happening in Indiana, and there was an attorney who actually brought a loan saying, listen, if it forgave his loan, his taxes could go up. And he said he didn't think that was right. As of yesterday, a federal judge said, I don't think that's the right argument. I'm not buying that. Think about where else can come. So what this is telling you is just from so many different directions, there are challenges to this, and you see the executive office trying to respond to those challenges to help as many people, it thinks, as possible. Then you also have something happening in Congress, and this is also where it gets interesting. Just last week, Congress passed a bill that basically said, listen, if you were married to someone and you combined your student loans at the time because you thought we can make one payment instead of 2, and then got divorced, now what Congress said in this bill is, listen, we think it could maybe help more people get loan forgiveness if we separated those out, basically, so that if you and I were ex-spouses, one of us wouldn't be responsible for paying for the other's student loans. That was something that was done that was supposed to help more people with student loan forgiveness. Now what we see is this moving part that's probably taking student loan forgiveness from that element of people who got federal loans guaranteed by the government, but that were held by private lenders. Those are the people now who are saying, are there any options for us? And as of now, the Department of Education is saying they're looking at alternatives, but nothing concrete.
Really amazing. So many different layers to all of this. Emily Schmidt from Washington, D.C., we really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Well, the dispute over access to the gorgeous Waipio Valley on the Big Island isn't only pitting residents against visitors. Ben Kateris explains.
A group that sued to reopen the road to Waipio Valley has planned what it calls a peaceful gathering to support ocean access, which they say they are still not getting, even after an agreement was reached with the county. Over the last week and a half since Waipio Valley Road was reopened, a group of residents has operated what it calls a kupuna checkpoint at the top of the roadway, keeping most visitors out.
We're not hostile. We're not protesting. You know, we're protecting Waipio, the place that we love, that obviously you love. That's why you're coming. That's why you're upset, because you can't go there.
The county closed the road in February because of rockfall and erosion hazards. The group Malama Ike Kai o Waipio sued the mayor, claiming the closure was illegal because it stopped people from accessing the valley for spiritual and cultural practices. But there's also the issue of ocean access.
You know, it's surfers, it's divers, it's fishermen, it's mothers playing with their babies by the river. It's vital for our health.
We sort of ocean people are feeling not heard. Many other people in our community feel like that.
The county allowed Hawaii Island residents, cultural practitioners, and permitted tour companies to use the road to get into Waipio Valley, but residents have resisted, saying the road closure allowed the valley to rest and reset.
The fish are coming back, and the beach looks beautiful. There's no rubbish. It's clean.
Residents have been trying to keep it that way, manning a tent atop the roadway that some consider a 24/7 blockade. They'll have company Saturday morning. That's when Malama Ike Kai has called for a peaceful gathering of people who support access to the ocean.
It's just a time for us to be able to come together to come together as ocean people, to come together in all of the different ways that we do interact with Waipio.
Residents say access will happen, but perhaps not right now.
We don't not want to share it. So as far as how long, I don't know.
The gathering is set for Saturday morning at 10. Meanwhile, next Wednesday, another court hearing is scheduled on the mayor's order on the roadway, and residents are also set to meet with the mayor. Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
New at noon, Dolphins quarterback and Ewa Beach native Tuatanga Vailoa continues to recover after suffering a scary head injury in last night's game against the Bengals. He traveled with the team back to Miami, but there are many questions as to why he was playing at all. NFL Chief Medical Officer Dr. Alan Sills spoke with CNN about the league's health and safety protocols.
We evaluate 3 or 4 players who don't have concussions for every one that we diagnose. We intentionally want to cast a very wide net on game day. There are about 1% of players who get evaluated on game day and are cleared and later show up with a concussion in the following week. Now again, I want that number to be 0, but we've driven that number down to a very low rate. And again, we try to use every one of these situations as a learning opportunity, as an opportunity to get better, and again, to do that in a very transparent manner. And so we do that collaboratively with the Players Association and their medical advisors, and that's exactly the process that will go on here.
Chief Medical Officer for the NFL speaking there. And Mark, back out here live in the H&N Digital Center, we just got some breaking details in regarding this story. What's going on?
Yeah, a response from Tuatanga Vailoa himself. This response surfaced on Twitter moments ago. The quarterback saying, "I want to thank everyone for all of their prayers and support since the game last night. It was difficult to not be able to finish the game and be there with my teammates, but I am grateful for the support and care I've received from the Dolphins, my friends and family, all the people who have reached out. I'm feeling much better and focused on recovering so I can get back out onto the field with my teammates." Again, a statement from Tuatanga Vailoa himself as he continues to recover from the concussion suffered last night against the Bengals. And Jonathan, really just a terrifying scene, what we saw happen on the field. So he goes down, he gets sacked, he's down on the field for about 7 minutes till he had to get carted off the field, stabilized, and of course what was really chilling was that fencing response. That's what happens when the head slams against the turf. Such brain trauma right there, really just stiffens up, and that was something that just was an unbelievable sight to have that unfold. And so seeing all this, it's going to be really fascinating to see how it plays out as the season unfolds.
And in this video, we purposely edited out that impact because it is a little
graphic. You don't
graphic.
need to keep watching it. Yes.
So, Mark, I got to ask you, in all your years covering the NFL, covering Tua, who should bear the responsibility for this, the Dolphins, or do you think the league?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think in this entire conversation goes back to what happened last Sunday, 6 days ago, 5 days before last night's game against the Buffalo Bills. When Tua went down, he slammed his head against the ground. He gets back up, and he was wobbling, as we're showing you video what happened last night against the Bengals, but it was Sunday against the Bills. He stands up, he's wobbling, and for some reason, he was out for a couple of plays, and then he came back in. The team had said it was a back injury, and so he was able to finish the game. However, the league has a strict concussion protocol, or it was a seemingly strict concussion protocol, where if you see those symptoms, that is what is called a no-go symptom. So if there is wobbling, goes to the ground, or the fencing response we saw last night, that is considered a no-go symptom, which means he should not have been playing at all. He should not have been practicing. He should be in what is called the concussion protocol. So the fact that he was able to play last night was something else, and it ties back to Sunday, where what was the process? What exactly happened, and what were the conversations had where medical professionals determined that he was safe to be able to still suit up?
Yeah, and what kind of impacts could this carry on long term?
Oh, I mean, this is huge. I mean, for the concussion protocol itself, the players' union, the NFLPA, has already said that it will begin an investigation into what has occurred over the last several days. The fact that he has seemingly now, I mean, he had a concussion last night. We don't know what happened on Sunday, so if you were to assume that he had 2 concussions in 5 days, that is a damning accusation of what is happening with the NFL. And so concussion is an issue that has been very top of mind over the last several years. So I think that's all going to be reevaluated. And we'll have to see how Tua is going to be recovering himself. I mean, these are traumatic brain injuries right here. And so He's in this process right now, and we'll see if he plays again this season. But yeah, I mean, his health and safety is priority one. This is all going to be evaluated.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll keep following the story for us at First at 4 as well. Going to turn to the other breaking news of the hour, taking you live to South Carolina, where just hours ago, Hurricane Ian, yes, yet again a hurricane, when it hit South Carolina as a Category 1 storm at about the 8 o'clock hour Hawaii time. Yeah, we're monitoring the effects happening there in this live picture. You're looking at Myrtle Beach right now. We want to turn it over to our own Guy Hoggy to get a check of our own weekend weather.
More significant, more widespread rainfall is expected sometime on Sunday. We're talking early Sunday morning. This front's going to drop in, right? We're talking about light rainfall because it was to be heavy. We'd see yellows and oranges, but it's mostly light and darker, light green and darker green. So light to moderate rainfall. And it's going to be sticking around Sunday into Monday. And then slowly on Tuesday, things start to dry up as that moisture starts to ease up. And looks like another batch of moisture coming in next week, Friday. So again, fairly clear skies with lots of sunshine, a few pop-up showers today and tomorrow. Light variable winds take over tomorrow, so it's going to be a little bit humid. And then that front drops in with more clouds, more showers Sunday and Monday. So we'll see a more, cloudier conditions than we've seen for the last several days. And then sunshine comes back in, drier conditions move back on Tuesday.
Kimie Minor is one of Hawaii's most talented musicians, award-winning singer-songwriter and producer. She caught up with Stephanie Lom recently on how she manages to balance her career and family life.
Aloha, everybody, and welcome to Mothership. Steph and Noli in the house, Brooke tending to some motherhood duties. Well, tonight we are joined by the one and the only Kimie Minor. She is a mother of 3, an award-winning singer, songwriter, and recording artist, and a full-time Grammy-nominated producer and president and CEO of Haku Collective. Welcome, Kimie, to Mothership.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we're gonna tell everybody that's actually a shortened version of her bio because of her accomplishments and stuff is probably like 20 pages long. My goodness. Hey, congratulations though on all of your accomplishments so far, and we're so glad that you're here with us because I mean you are so busy, and I can say that personally because I see you. And let me tell you, this girl has been working throughout her pregnancy. Like, she will come in to our station to record. And even after pregnancy, I'm like, don't you need to take some time to rest? And, you're just like smiling, glowing, still plugging along. And you're just so dedicated to what you do. So please, I mean, just start off by...
Well, I think the craziest thing, and I'm so happy to be here with you today on the Mothership. Yeah. And I think the thing that I found to be most true about becoming a mother was that I was really inspired with each pregnancy, and I actually created an album each time. So it was like you were there in the studio with me. We were sharing the studio space. So I was always pregnant because I did the Hawaiian Lullaby album, I did my Proud as the Sun album, and then I did Children of the Sea, which was a collection for children. But, I was just really, really inspired and looking for music for my own keiki and decided I should just go make it. So that's what I did.
So amazing. So amazing. And right now they're being watched by your mom. And I noticed that you've had a lot of help too, which is always good.
So I don't know how anyone does it without help. I mean, it really does take a village, a tribe, a ohana. And so I'm really lucky to have a lot of people that help me to do what I do, for sure.
And how old are your kids? Can you tell those listening?
My youngest is almost 2. So they're 2, 3, 4. Almost 2, 3, and 4.
Whoa. Yeah, you went boom, boom, boom. Do you have any regrets or how's that working out?
Would you recommend that or no?
I have a lot of makeup, concealer under my eyes because I am very tired. But there's good and bad, there's challenges and opportunities for growth, I guess. Yeah. And then it's a blessing. It is. But our house is always loud, full of laughter or crying or someone that doesn't want to do something. So 5 of us in the house, everyone is so different. So it's a lot, but I don't regret it. I love it. I love them so much.
Stephanie Lum's podcast, you can find it very easily. Just search Mothership wherever you get your podcasts, or you can just search Hawaii News Now and it'll pop up as well. Let's see what else the internet is buzzing about today. So check this out. A new coin in circulation in the UK. It's coming. Yeah, we're talking about King Charles III, his coin entering circulation. Those coins will be running alongside those already in circulation of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. The UK says there's about 27 billion, that's right, 27 billion coins featuring the Queen in circulation already.
I don't mean this to sound silly at all, but I mean, I know it is called the Royal Mint, but the coins really do look royal.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a regalness.
Yeah, there's remarkable how they they put this currency together.
Yeah, and is it just me? Does that the profile of King Charles III? It doesn't really read King Charles. I see it a little bit there in the bigger version, but when it's in the coin, I sort of double taked. I'm like, it's flattering.
Yeah.
It's flattering, and Queen Elizabeth's portrait's so beautiful on that currency. I'm surprised they are getting rid of it.
So regal. Now, in other news, what's trending online, a change coming to the Daily Show anchor desk. Trevor Noah announced he is leaving the program after 7 years as host. The South African comedian took over for Jon Stewart in 2015. He hinted that he plans to return to more stand-up work. And there's no timetable for his departure right now, but a big announcement for a very popular show.
So talented and witty as well. I'm very curious to who they will bring in next. Mark Carpenter, maybe? Maybe? I'd vote for you.
Nobody would want to hear me. Okay?
Oh, you'd be great. Your dad jokes are like...
Yeah, exactly. That's what the show's looking for, more dad jokes. That's what they need.
All right, guys, some good news now. Halloween's almost here, and everyone's been waiting for this. Hocus Pocus 2, now on Disney+. Let's turn it over to Kevin at ET with a behind-the-scenes preview.
It is wild to think that it's nearly been 30 years since the witches first took over Salem. So what was it like to jump back on their brooms after all this time?
And action.
Yes, Salem, we're back! As soon as we walked on the set, the dynamic between the three of us was exactly the same as it was 30 years ago. It's as if these characters lived with us for the last 30 years.
It was not a difficult transition to step back into those boots.
It's very special to be part of something that has become so meaningful in people's lives.
This movie is so much fun because it pays homage to the original movie while being its own thing.
I really wanted an actual backstory to the Sanderson sisters. Happy 16th birthday, child. In Hocus Pocus 2, we have 3 young girls in Salem.
Who are you?
We have to rally together against 3 evil witches.
Hocus Pocus 2 has some new faces, including Ted Lasso's Hannah Waddingham, Lilia Buckingham, Gossip Girl's Whitney Peak, and Belissa Escobedo.
These women are so talented and added such a great layer to this whole experience.
We have to get out of here. The witches will be here any second.
Hey, and tune into ET tonight because we're in New York with George and Amal Clooney for their red carpet date night for Entertainment Tonight. I'm Kevin Frazier.
Thanks, Kevin. Entertainment Tonight airs on KGMB right after our 6 o'clock newscast. I love our time zone sometimes because you get to watch these things a day earlier than most. And I started to watch Hocus Pocus 2 last night, and I fell asleep in about 15 minutes. So, to be continued tonight.
Tough week for movie reviews for you.
I'm going to have to wait to pass judgment on that one. But so far, I'm going to have to say... So. That's going to do it for This Is Now. Mark's back first at 4. A lot of updates you'll be getting there on KHNL, 4 o'clock. Have a good one.